So tasks are going to play a key role in remote working. And the good thing about tasks is that you can assign yourself a task, or you can assign a colleague to be responsible for completing a task. So a task can be found in the left-hand menu under Tasks. And here you will be able to see all the tasks that you are involved in. So whether you have been assigned a task from another colleague, you will be able to see it within the tasks section. Or if you have created a task yourself, you will be able to see the task in here. And I'll explain the different views within here shortly. But obviously, when you're working remotely, then the key is to ensure that you stay on top of your tasks that you have been assigned by your other colleagues. And as long as you know and understand the priority of those tasks, and when those tasks have a specific deadline, that you can meet that deadline of that task. So I think the first thing to do is quickly just show you how easy it is to create a task inside Bitrix. So if we go into tasks, we just hit the new button, new task, and we can give it a title straight away. So if we were to say create a website, and then we can say please create the initial mock-up for the website. Then what we can also do here, pretty much like any of the activity stream posts or in the chat, we can add files. So it might be that we want to add a brief PDF to this. So we're going to add a brief, sample brief PDF. And we'll also add a image. So we'll add the example design file here. And what we could put the client is interested in a style like this. What we can do is embed that task into the body of the task itself. So what we can also do, and one of the powerful tools within a task, is to have these checklists. And checklists are within the task itself to allow you to fully complete the task and the requirements of it. So it might be that we have the first checklist as concept design. And then what we can do is maybe gather design assets. We can build in Photoshop and present to client. So we might have three, if we just remove this one, we might have 3 checklist items in here. And what we can actually do, which I didn't do, is we can actually assign these as a participant for somebody that's going to be responsible for it. So I might say Jack is responsible for this. And then we will say Katie is responsible for the next 2 elements. So there we go. So we have Jack, Katie, and Katie. If you wanted to add another checklist item, you can do so. It's quite straightforward. But the important part here is going to be the responsible person. So the responsible person is who should be completing this task. So whoever is responsible for completing it, you can find them in here and assign the task to them. I'm going to leave this, in this case, it's going to be myself that's responsible for this particular task. And what we can also do is we can add other colleagues that want to have some kind of involvement in it. So these guys are going to get a notification when an update to the task is present. They'll get a notification through their little notification center in the top right hand corner. And furthermore, we can also add observers. So they might want to just have an overview of the task itself. And if you are any one of these kinds of users, then you will see this task in the left-hand tasks section under your task collection. So that's the involvement in a task. One of the other important aspects is obviously putting a deadline on a task, because the deadline is going to be an indicator of when this task has to be completed by. And Bitrix has some great tools to be able to actually allow you to see clearly when tasks are overdue. We now have a brand new task page that shows you when the deadline is up and coming. So it might be that I want to set this task to 8 o'clock at 4 p.m. On a Friday. What we can also have is, if you wanted to specify when this task should be started by the person responsible, you can add a start and end date, and then that would allow you to see the resource management aspect of your employees. So you can actually see when somebody is booked out to work on a task. I'm not going to add that on this particular case. We have a range of other options here. Quite a lot of them are self-explanatory, but one of the good ones is being able to approve a task when it's been completed. And this is especially good if you are remote working, because if you assign a task to somebody, so if you assigned a task to another colleague of yours, then you have this approved task when completed checked. What it's going to do is they're going to hit the finish button to say, yep, they've finished that task. But you will, because you are the creator of the task, receive it back. And then you can say, yes, I approve that it's been completed, or no, I don't approve. And then you can write a comment within the task why it might not be completed. So then it just gets handed back to the original responsible person. So that is a particularly good option when you are remote working. Furthermore, if we click on the More tab here, what we can do is we can assign tasks to projects. So you may have watched the other video with regards to work group collaboration. Well, we can have project groups inside Bitrix. And what that will allow us to do, it will allow us to create a whole range of tasks for a project plan and assign it to a project that exists within Bitrix. And your tasks will neatly sit within those projects groups, and we'll be able to see them in the actual tasks section on the left-hand side when we click into it, and clearly see which project is assigned to, which task is assigned to that project. So in our case, I'm going to add it to Buzzco. If you want to be able to track how much time has been spent on tasks, you can do to simply click the button. That will allow you to start and stop time on a time tracker within a task. What else you can do is you can actually put the amount of time that is expected to, the task is expected to take. So you might have quoted your client it's going to take 8 hours. And then what we can do is log the time against the estimated time that you've put in here. And that's really good, because you can then start reporting on how many tasks have gone over the estimated time that you have actually set within the task itself here. So if we can create multiple reports on all the tasks that have exceeded the amount of time that has been spent on a task. We can add reminders, so we can add it for a specific date, or we can add a reminder maybe 1 day before the deadline to tell us that the task is nearly coming up to the deadline date. And we can do so by having an internal message with the little notification tool, or we can also send an email to the user who is responsible for this. So we'll add that on there. We can have repetitive tasks. So if you're remote working for quite a long period of time, you might have a task that you need to carry out every Monday of every month. So at the start of every month, we might want it to be the first Monday. So we might want to do it here. So you can see every first Monday of every 1 month. And we can set how many iterations we want of that. So we might want that to repeat every Monday, the first Monday of every month, for the next 6 months. And then in that case, we would just select that many times that it would create the task. So it does take the legwork out of having to create this task and having to remember to create this task every month. You can do it every day, you can do it every week, and so on and so forth. It's particularly good for renewals. So it might be that you would want to apply a renewal license to a system or a contract, you could actually repeat that every year on here if you had this. Bitrix, you can view Gantt charts, and we'll have a look at the views in a moment. You can assign tasks to CRM elements. So it might be that you have a task for a client of yours. What you can do is click on it here. We can go into the companies and we can assign it to a company within our CRM. And what that gives you is that if your sales agents are then in your CRM and they're going through, let's just say Al's Toy Barn called up, your sales agent could go into the CRM, find Al's Toy Barn within the company in the CRM, and actually see what tasks are currently outstanding. We can have head tasks and we can have subtasks. So a good example of that is maybe if you've got a project split up into phases, you might have phase 1 as a head task, and then you would have multiple tasks sat under that particular phase. We can tag tasks to make them more searchable. So we can click on predefined ones, or we can add our own if we wanted to. You can add custom fields to tasks. And finally, you can make tasks dependent on one another. So once you've gone through that and added all this necessary content, what we can do is just click on Add Task, and then that will create the task. A notification will be sent to the responsible person. So Max Smith, in this case, will now receive a notification to say a new task has been assigned to him. And then Max can work on this task as and when it is required. And to do so, you can see how it all looks. It's quite simple, it's quite clear what is required. The more content you obviously add to a task is going to be the better. You can see all the timings within the task itself. You can see who's involved in the task. You can see the checklist items here. So it might be that once a checklist item is done, we can tick it off, and you can see your progress through that initial checklist. We can see our files, we can see the project that it's associated against, and we can see the company here too. If you want to be logging time on tasks, I mentioned we put 8 hours associated to this particular task. We can click on Start Time Tracker, and it will automatically start counting up the amount of time that is being spent on this task. Now, one of the good things is obviously if you try and start another task, so if you try to hit the Start Time Tracker button on another task, it would actually prompt you and say you would need to pause the time on the website design task, or create a website task, before you can start the time tracker on this particular task. And that's good because you can't work on 2 tasks simultaneously counting time. You should only be working on 1 task at any given time. So if I click on pause and just come out of this task and just give the page a quick refresh, what we'll be able to see is if we click back into the task itself, we'll be able to see in the time elapsed tab that the time has been logged. And we can see here quite clearly, and it might be that we add a little comment to say started the prototype, give it a tick, and it just allows us to categorize our time spent on tasks. If you didn't want to go as granular as starting the time tracker on the tasks, we can just manually add a time, a date, and a time spent, and a comment on here. And that would then take it into the tracker above. It would log it and record it against that. So there are 2 different types of tracking time on tasks themselves. So that's how people generally work on tasks. One of the key things with tasks, though, is the collaboration aspect. Because if you can imagine you assign a colleague a task, they're a little bit unsure of how to complete that task. What you should be taking advantage of is the comment section here. So maybe I wanted some input from another one of my colleagues. And what I can do there is I can actually, if I type in the @ symbol, I can tag another colleague in. So if I said, please, can you send me over So if I tag that user in, clicked on send, Jack Smith is now going to get a notification to say Max has commented on create a website task. The notification will provide a link to the task, and again, it will appear in your notification center up in the top right hand corner here. So this plays a significant role in getting notified of things that have happened within the system itself. So you can see here all my notifications. You can see create a new financial report requires attention. This is where you should come to, and you can see any new notifications that have been provided based on the little red counter with a 1 in it, in our case on here. So this is, again, this is how you work on tasks. Once the task has been finished, all you will need to do is click on finish, and then that will either send it back to the person who's created the task to approve whether they classify that it has been completed, or alternatively, it will just close the task out itself. So when you finish a task, it will never delete it off the system. So if I click on finish here and go into here, you can actually see that it's been dropped out of my filtering view in here. And the sole reason for that is that I'm viewing all my in progress tasks. So that's how generally you should be, because obviously you can imagine you get through a lot of tasks and you finish a lot of tasks. You don't want them all displaying on here. So if I was to uncheck this, you can now see all the finished tasks that we have had within this particular user. If I go back into the filter at the top up here, click into in progress, then you'll be able to see all of the tasks that are in progress. So let me just explain a little bit just about these top menu items up here. So at the moment I'm sat on all. That will mean that I will be able to see all tasks that I have some kind of involvement in. So whether I'm a creator, whether I'm a responsible person, a participant, or an observer, they will all display in here. Any task that is being created for another colleague, not by myself, I will not be able to see it within this section. And it's because these are your tasks. These are some kind of involvement. And that's the way it should be. So it's clean. You know that you have some kind of involvement in here. One of the most popular menu items at the top is the ongoing tab. And what this is all the tasks that you are responsible for. So in the morning, I would come into work, click into tasks, click into the ongoing up at the top here, and I'll be able to see my workload, and I'll be able to see the deadlines on specific tasks on here, which is obviously really useful. Assisting are all the tasks that I am a participant in. Set by me are all the tasks that I've created for another colleague. And following are all the tasks that I am an observer in. And as you click through these, you'll be able to see the actual filter changing in here. That's all it's doing. It's just filtering the tasks that are displaying within this grid view. So if I just click off in progress again, let's just pull that task back that I created a moment ago. If I want to resume a particular task that I've closed, you can simply click into here, click on more, and click on resume. And then it will bring it back into my task list here. Now, Bitrix have a great way of organizing your tasks, finding the tasks that you want. Not only is the filter tool a great way of finding any particular tasks, because you can filter out any field within any given task. But what we have now in Bitrix is some more views across the top here. So I'm currently in the list view. We also have the deadline view, and this is automatic. So based on the deadline that you add to a particular task, what you will be able to see is your task will generally move from the right-hand side to the left. So the one that I've just created with a deadline of Friday, the 20th of March, what it's going to do is once Friday comes, it will be in the due today column. and if the task is not finished, it will be in the overdue column here. So this is a great way of being able to see all the tasks that are currently getting more and more urgent priority. We also have a planner view. So every user on your system has a planner. And then this is a great way of being able to organize your own tasks. So this is your own personal planner to arrange and sort your tasks. And what we can do is, if we just was to, let's just delete. In fact, we can't delete any in there because there will be some tasks in here if I was to remove off the in progress. But what we can do, we can add a new column, and it might be to say remote working meeting. And it might be that we want to talk about this new task, create a website, in our meeting. And it's just a case of dragging and dropping into your planner column. That way, when that meeting comes around each morning, you know the tasks that you will need to discuss within that meeting. Nobody else on the system will know what your stages are of your planner. So not planned, complete today, remote working, etc. Nobody else will know that those stages exist, only yourself. It's a way that you can organize your own personal tasks. We also have a calendar view now on tasks, so we can see all the tasks with a deadline. So you can see the one I created a moment ago, create a website, that has got a particular deadline of the 20th. So you can see here. And then finally, we have a Gantt chart view. So the Gantt chart view is perfect for, especially for project plans. You can see here if tasks have start and end dates and deadlines, you'll be able to see when that particular deadline is. So you can see the one that we've just created, create a website, we can view the tasks within here. So you are going to find your own personal preference of working in the tasks. I would recommend, especially the organization element of the planner is a great tool. The deadlines allow you to see what's coming up and what is going to become overdue. And then finally, the way that this is split into your different projects is a great way of working. So to create a project, I think you are best watching the workgroup collaboration video, which is on our website. But if you want to create one, just go to the work groups, click on create, and then you can create an open project, a private project, or an external. And again, you can invite your users into that particular project. If it's a private project, only the people who are members of that project will know that it exists. So if I click into Buzzco, which is a project work group of ours, again, we have the activity stream where you can post out announcements, you can post out messages to the group who are working on this particular project. If we go into tasks, we can see all of the tasks that are associated to this project. So this is where the tasks menu link on the left-hand side differs from when you create a task and assign it to a project. And that's because in the tasks menu, and that section, you only see the tasks that you have some kind of involvement in. If you create a task and assign it to a project, or another colleague does and assigns it to somebody else, you wouldn't necessarily see, or you wouldn't see it in your tasks because it's somebody else that's working on it. You would come to your work groups, you would find the project, and you would be able to see all of the tasks that are currently outstanding for this particular project. So you can see here, these top two, the user Max Smith does not have any involvement in. And that's where it becomes quite a powerful tool when you are assigning tasks to projects, because you can actually see the project plan. One of the great elements of projects within Bitrix is you do have all the same views within here of filtering the tasks, but you also have a Kanban view of the project itself. And when you click into a project Kanban, you can see the project stages within here. So if I was to click on adding a new stage, just click on the pencil and I can create and change the color and name. And you can see here the tasks that we have just assigned to this particular project. It will always start at the first stage, and then we can move it along this particular Kanban. And you can see the progress of this task. Furthermore, we can assign permissions on the task if we on the Kanban view if we want. So any automation rules, we might want to, when it hits manufacturing, we might want to change the responsible person. We might want to send somebody a particular notification. I would definitely recommend having a look at our project management webinar if you want to have a look and learn about these automation rules a little bit more. So the purpose of these tasks and these projects is that you can keep track of everything in a particular project within Bitrix remotely. You know where everything sits, what's being worked on, what's coming up to the deadline, and you can approve and decline when people finish tasks. So this project space in Bitrix is pretty much like what we spoke about in the workgroup collaboration. You have the activity stream to post messages, you have tasks to organize the actual development of the project. You have a drive for documents, you have a calendar that's solely for this particular project. We have lists where we can submit expenses and different items again. And again, I would recommend looking at our project management webinar to learn a little bit more about lists. We have a project instant messenger chat, so we can have all chat internally, and you can do so again on your mobile device. You can chat within your project group, and again, it's great for working remotely. The conversations is the activity stream, and then finally, we can also have knowledge bases again. So we might have a project glossary of all the terminology within the project within this particular knowledge base. So if I was to click on this, can slide out and we can create a knowledge base for this project. So hopefully you can see quite a brief overview of how we create the tasks, how we assign them to a particular project, and how you can manage and prioritize your task workload. Obviously your management can see in here for if tasks get assigned to particular projects. And obviously the people who have created the tasks and assigning them to you can see your progress and collaboration through the communication established in the comment section of each task in here. So you can see this is a great way of being able to ensure that you have enough information to complete those tasks. So hopefully this has been some use for you. And if you've got any questions, please do get in touch with us. And also, please have a look at the workgroup collaboration recording on our website, and it's on YouTube. And also, please do take a look at the project management webinar, the recording that is on the Bitrix24 YouTube channel. So hopefully this helps. Thank you very much. Bye for now.